Online game, I possess a monster merging simulator. Chapter 151, Fire Elemental Giant. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining unknown herb X1. Ding! Ding! When Lorne entered the mountain, he saw a large number of special herbs. Due to his lack of identification skill, he could not identify these herbs. In addition, picking herbs in the game also required a certain level of skill. If the level of the skill was not high enough, the herb could not be picked intact. Therefore, Lorne did not want to destroy the herbs. He only gathered a portion of all kinds of herbs. After returning to the main city, he would let the Alchemist Association's masters help identify them. Then, Lorne slowly felt his way forward while carefully observing the ground and the surrounding buildings. It could be seen that this magnificent building was still intact. Although some parts were badly damaged, considering that it had been lost for tens of thousands of years, the degree of damage was completely acceptable. It's even better than Iron Skull City. Lorne could not help but marvel at the materials used to build this city. Even after 10,000 years of corrosion, it still retained its original appearance. What caused all of this was the material used in the walls and ground. Unlike Iron Skull City, the buildings and rocks here were all very huge. Some were even carved from small mountains. To use such a huge rock to build it, it was no wonder it was still standing after 10,000 years. Lorne could not help but sigh. But before he could cross the corridor, a fiery figure appeared ahead. Fire Elemental Giant. Level? HP? MP? Physical attack? Skill? Introduction, gathered from the fire elemental energy emitted by the corpse of the fire dragon. These inactive fire elemental giants will gradually become stronger as the fire elements accumulate. Unless you are confident, try not to approach them. They were a group of fire elemental monsters that could not be seen clearly. Due to the huge difference in level between the two sides, Lorne could not see any of the other party's attributes. However, Lorne's eyes widened. His attention was focused on the final line of the character introduction. It was written very clearly that this monster was formed from the fire elemental energy emitted by the corpse of the fire dragon. In other words, in this cold desolate dragon city, there had to be the corpse of a fire dragon. Lorne took a deep breath, then activated his invisibility and groped his way along the wall. However, before he could get within 100 yards of the fire elemental giant, the other party discovered his tracks. Several fire elemental giants waved their burning fists and charged at Lorne. Angel's Descent. Without hesitation, Lorne pulled away. With 3 times the speed, Lorne barely escaped the aggro range of the fire elemental giants. Stopping near the entrance, Lorne fell into a dilemma. It was impossible to enter directly. As long as these fire elemental giants existed, he had no hope of entering the Dragon City. Lorne felt helpless. For some reason, the monster's aggro range was much farther than he had imagined. Now, he could only search for an opportunity to sneak in. Lorne began to patrol the outer city wall of the cold desolate Dragon City to see if there were other entrances. From his investigation back and forth, he discovered that this cold desolate Dragon City was almost fused with the mountain. Many parts were enveloped by the mountain. The true empty part was only about a kilometer long. In this bare region, only the place where he had just entered had a passageway. Am I going to return empty-handed? Lorne was depressed. He had finally found this cold desolate Dragon City, but he could not enter because of the monsters lingering at the entrance. This was too torturous. One had to know that he had spent several days in order to come here. If he came from Iron Skull City, it would take him 6 days to reach this place. He did not want to waste another 6 days traveling. Can I use pets to lure the monsters away? Or should I use the death substitute necklace to forcefully break through the defense line? There were 2 plans in Lorne's mind. Without thinking, he tried the first. Unfortunately, the plan failed. It had failed miserably. Just now, he had made the long-tongued bat forcefully rush in to investigate the interior of the cold, desolate dragon city. In the end, as soon as it arrived at the fire elemental giant's wandering area, it was burned to a crisp by the other party's flames. The damage was terrifying. The value reached 999,999 points. Lorne was stunned. The damage was close to 1,000,000. If this hit him, even a death substitute necklace would not be enough. What was worse was that there was not only one fire elemental giant here. There were 20 of them from what he could see. It was impossible to pass through this place. Looks like I can only stop here. Lorne was unwilling to give up, but he had no choice. However, just as he was about to leave and explore the other areas, suddenly, a shocking bang sounded. It came from the direction of the Black Lake. Lorne hurried to a spot where he could see, but the next second, he was dumbfounded. In the incomparably calm pitch-black lake ahead, two huge monsters tore at each other. They intertwined with each other, and the terrifying energy waves made the entire Black Lake surge. One had to know that the cold, desolate dragon city was located at the top of a mountain several hundred meters away from the Black Lake. But even so, Lorne could see the battle between the two creatures. From this, it could be seen how huge the two monsters were. According to the experience in the game, it was very likely a special hidden storyline. To the players, it was a good opportunity that could only be encountered by chance. Of course, opportunities and dangers always came together. In a battle of such giant monsters, it was very likely that it would be killed by the shockwaves of the other party's battle. Lorne did not consider that. Now that he could no longer enter the cold, desolate dragon city, he could go and see the battle between the two giant sea beasts. As for the Dragon of Light's mission, Lorne had already completed it. The fifth dragon soul had been found the day before yesterday and had just completed the mission requirement. Therefore, Lorne did not feel any pressure now. Even if he was killed by the shockwaves of their battle, he still had the death substitute necklace. In short, he would not lose much. Chapter 152, One-Eyed Giant Snake and Two-Headed Crocodile Dragon. Under the dark clouds was a huge lake that was pitch black like ink. This black lake was originally extremely calm, but at this moment, it was completely stirred up by two huge creatures. It was an extremely huge snake monster that was fighting a terrifying crocodile. Not only were the two monsters huge, but the energy in their bodies was also beyond ordinary understanding. Almost every time they collided and bit, a terrifying wave would sweep through the surroundings, and it was even more powerful than the arrival of a tsunami. Lorne let Rimuru block the wind and slowly approached the center of the battlefield. It's really shockingly huge. Lorne's eyes widened. It was not that he had not seen huge monsters, such as the bone dragon. It was more than 30 meters long and was definitely a huge monster. However, on the battlefield, 30 meters was not enough. It was not even a third of the snake's length. As for the powerful two-headed crocodile, it relied on its incomparably strong body to fight the 100-meter-long python. Rimuru, continue forward. Lorne did not stop. He continued to drive Rimuru forward. Rimuru's body was fluid, effectively reducing the damage from the impact and also helping Lorne withstand all the attacks. As the distance between them increased, Lorne grew closer and closer to the two giant monsters. He could even see their scales. Unfortunately, Lorne's level was too low to see the health lost by the monster. It should not be too low. After all, they were so huge that the shockwaves from the battle alone could crush a level 30 Lorne into pieces. Gulping, Lorne tried to check the other party's attributes, but all he saw were question marks. One-eyed giant snake, Mora. Quality. Status, extremely weak. Level. HP. MP. Physical attack. Defense. Skill. Introduction, Mora is a huge snake with an ancient bloodline. The dragon bloodline caused its body to mutate, obtaining a single eye that contains terrifying power. One-eyed giant snake? This should be a very powerful species. As for the other party's true strength, Lorne could not see it. The other party's level had already exceeded the horizon. It was not something he could investigate. However, even such a powerful giant monster would encounter a life and death enemy. It was too crazy. Two-headed crocodile dragon, Heidman. Quality? Status, extremely weak. Level? HP? MP? Physical attack? Defense? Skill? Introduction: Heidman is a crocodile dragon with an ancient bloodline. The dragon bloodline mutated its body. Not only does its two heads give it twice the intelligence, but they also give it twice the combat strength. This was also an extremely powerful monster. Lorne was completely stunned. Although the other party had entered an extremely weak state, the energy released was still terrifying. Brilliant light spewed out from the mouths of the two giant beasts, and then they exploded, pushing the black lake water around them directly, forming a wall of water that was 100 meters tall. Lorne quickly hid behind a hard rock to avoid the tide and wind. After the storm passed, he looked over again. The situation in the center of the battlefield was very intense. The two giant beasts released all their strength, as if they were in a life and death battle. A bold idea occurred to Lorne. That was to pick up the loot. He felt that the two beasts would most likely suffer heavy losses. In other words, he had a high chance of taking the head of a monster and obtaining an incomparably generous reward after the incident. Moreover, after killing one of the monsters, he would have a chance to obtain the affinity of the other monster. In this case, wouldn't it be killing two birds with one stone? The more Lorne thought about it, the more excited he became. He had completely forgotten about the level of the two bosses. Boom! 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 Soon, 5 hours passed. The intense battle between the two beasts lasted for 5 hours. Fortunately, the battlefield of the two monsters was in the Black Lake. It did not destroy the surrounding mountains because the energy was too great. Lorne had been hiding behind the rock, watching the grand battle. 5 hours passed. The two beasts could no longer hold on. It could be seen that the two giant beasts were paralyzed in the Black Lake. They floated motionless in the lake, like small islands rooted to the bottom of the lake. However, Lorne did not dare to approach them easily. The two monsters were too powerful. Even in his current state, they were a huge threat to him. After some thought, Lorne planned to let the long-tongued bat fly over to check on the other party first. He would make a decision after confirming it. But at that moment, a loud voice sounded. Human adventurer hiding behind the rock, the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, needs your help. The one-eyed snake let out a huge sound, but its body did not move. Clearly, this giant monster's physical strength had reached its limit. Young human adventurer, I can clearly sense the aura of the Dragon of Light on you. I am also a junior who had received guidance from the Dragon of Light. As someone who has the same experience, I hope that you can help me kill this detestable two-headed crocodile dragon. From now on, you will be Mora's best friend. Although it said that it had received guidance from the Dragon of Light, Lorne did not believe it. However, since he had been discovered, there was no need to continue hiding. Lorne stepped out from behind the boulder. At this moment, the other giant beast also spoke, Young human, I am a two-headed crocodile dragon with an even more ancient bloodline. If you help me, you will obtain the good impression of the great two-headed crocodile dragon. The two-headed crocodile dragon clearly did not want to die. In order to obtain a higher chance of success, it could not help but rope in Lorne. When the two of them finished, a series of system notifications sounded in Lorne's ears. Chapter 153, Extortion. Ding! Game announcement: One-eyed giant snake Mora has issued a temporary mission to you. Kill the two-headed crocodile dragon. After completing the mission, you will obtain Mora's friendship. Ding! Game announcement: Two-headed crocodile dragon Heidman has issued a temporary mission to you: kill the one-eyed giant snake. After completing the mission, you will obtain the affinity of the two-headed crocodile dragon. 2 notifications appeared in front of Lorne. These were 2 huge bosses trying to rope him in. As long as he accepted a mission inside, it would be considered accepting a mission from a boss. If it were an ordinary player, they might be excited to see such a powerful boss give them a mission, but Lorne was not. The 2 bosses in front of him were fighting to rope him in, which meant that they were already at their limits. They did not even have the strength to kill an additional weak human. In that case, wasn't the initiative in his hands? Of course, Lorne would not let go of such a good opportunity. He temporarily hid the system interface and looked at the 2 giant beasts floating in the Black Lake. Due to the current situation, I can kill both of you and make a great contribution to the human empire. However, as an adventurer, I don't have a strong sense of belonging. On the contrary, I'm very interested in increasing my strength and wealth. Why don't we do this? In order to have a powerful companion, I can let one of you live, but as for which one of you lives, it will depend on which one of you offers a bargaining chip that can move me. Lorne looked at the 2 beasts and stated his conditions fearlessly. As a player, he was very bold. He would not let go of any opportunity to gain benefits, especially in this situation. I can give you 5 gold equipment. The 2-headed crocodile dragon was the first to speak. Young human adventurer, I can give you 10. The one-eyed giant snake, Mora, was not to be outdone. I'll give 15. The 2-headed crocodile dragon said, in addition, I can give you a crocodile dragon egg. I'll give you 2,000 rare pearls from the bottom of the lake. I'll add another pile of rare herbs from the swamp. I'm willing to help you fight once. Me too, and a pile of high-level monster skeletons. The 2 bosses fought crazily, promising more and more resources. However, from these resources, it could be seen that the wealth of the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, was clearly inferior to that of the 2-headed crocodile dragon. Under the circumstances that it could not compare to the other party in terms of resources, the one-eyed snake could only begrudgingly promise to help Lorne fight. Moreover, the number of times it would help had increased to 3 times. Looks like the result is obvious. Mora, your reward is too little. Lorne took out his short staff. He did not know if he could break through the other party's defense, but taking out his combat weapon was also to show that he was about to make a decision and give the other party some pressure. Seeing this, Mora indeed panicked. Human adventurer, I sense a rich light power in you. There's an extremely pure light power in my warehouse. If you can help me, I can give you this treasure. How about it? Mora asked with an aching heart. The treasure that contained the power of light gave it great help in cultivation. There was even a chance to change its bloodline. To be honest, if not for the fact that it involved its life and death, Mora would definitely not be willing to hand over this treasure. This is indeed what I need, but, the corners of Lorne's mouth curled up, I want the thing that you are fighting over. Adventurer, Mora, accept your request. The 2-headed crocodile dragon and I are fighting so hard for a red crystal coffin in the Lake of Death. Since you want it, I can give half of it to you. The one-eyed snake, Mora, did not hesitate and agreed. Deal. Lorne laughed. A treasure that could make 2 bosses fight to the death definitely had something unique. Even if it was not a useful tool, there was hope of triggering some special missions. Perhaps that thing involved another epic main storyline mission. However, now was not the time to be happy. To obtain these rewards, Lorne had to think of a way to kill the 2-headed crocodile dragon. Foolish human brat, do you think you can harm the great Heidman with your weak strength? Stop dreaming. The 2-headed crocodile dragon rose up. From its previous rest, it had recovered a portion of its strength. At this moment, it waved its tail and created a monstrous wave. Adventurer, don't be afraid of him. This guy's body has also reached the limit. He doesn't have much strength. As for the defense of his body, I will completely offset it. Next, you only need to deal full damage to him. Please do your best, warrior. I'll leave this to you." With that, the one-eyed snake, Mora, also rose up. Its 100-meter-long body curled up around the two-headed crocodile. After binding the other party's body, black energy emerged from the body of the one-eyed snake. This energy enveloped the two-headed crocodile dragon, suppressing its constitution and attributes to the lowest level. At this moment, Lorne saw a special battle notification. Ding! This target's attributes and level have been temporarily sealed. Your attacks will not be affected by the defense and level suppression effect. Perfect timing. Lorne was just worried that the other party's level was too high and he could not effectively deal damage, but Mora was so powerful. Not only did it seal the other party's attributes, even the level suppression was gone. In that case, he would not be polite. Without any hesitation, he activated Angel's Descent, and a pair of holy wings immediately appeared behind him. Then, he leaped and approached the two-headed crocodile dragon at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, the two-headed crocodile dragon was sealed by the one-eyed giant snake with all its strength. Its body could not move at all. To Lorne, their bodies were like small islands floating in the water, perfect for landing. He landed on the other party's back. After stabilizing himself on the thick leather armor, he immediately activated his summoning skill. The next second, a group of pets appeared. Chapter 154, Crazy Damage. Little fellows, attack with all your might. Lorne summoned all his pets. All 6 were filled with fighting spirit. The moment they appeared, they began to attack the monster in front of them. Phantom Backstab. Phantom Combo Plus. Piercing Arrow. Poisonous Rain of Arrows. Spur of the Spider Spear. All the pets used their attack skills. Due to the special effect of Dragon Slayer and Angel's Wings on Lorne, his pets received a 200% critical hit damage increase. In such a situation, as long as someone dealt a critical hit, his damage would be extremely terrifying. In addition, the Dragon Slayer title had a special effect, which dealt an additional 10% damage to all dragon-type creatures. The two-headed crocodile dragon had the bloodline of a giant dragon. It was a subspecies dragon, so it was also affected by this effect. Thus, the damage numbers flying in the sky were impressive. -27,500, critical. -5,913. -5,913. -5,913. -6,799. -1,651. -2,755. The sealed two-headed crocodile dragon did not have any defense, so the pets dealt the greatest damage. Especially Aisha, her damage output made up more than 90% of the total damage output of the entire team. She was the true DPS. After she used Phantom Backstab, the next attack would definitely be a critical hit. Coupled with the amplification effect that Lorne had given her, her critical hit damage was 450%. The final damage value was a terrifying 27,500 points. She was only level 20. A level 20 pet could actually do this. It was unbelievable. Even the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, looked over. Adventurer, your charm is astonishing. Even an elf with such a bloodline is willing to be your follower. This giant beast was very excited, because it saw the dawn of victory. It did not expect that a level 30 adventurer who had not even reached the Earth realm would have so many powerful followers. Especially this elf, after one round of damage output, she actually dealt more than 80,000 damage. Coupled with the damage output of others, in that instant, the two-headed crocodile dragon lost 100,000 health points. Mora, how long can your seal last? Lorne asked Mora. From the fact that it had chosen to seal the two-headed crocodile dragon and not fight, it could be seen that Mora was inferior to it. Therefore, the duration of the seal was also important. If his output could not kill the other party in a limited time, the situation would be troublesome. Mora replied seriously, "Don't worry, my seal can last for at least 30 minutes. Just as it finished speaking, the head of the two-headed crocodile dragon suddenly moved. It opened its bloody mouth and bit off a piece of flesh from Mora's body, then swallowed it. Damn it, I can't suppress its other head. Mora winced. Adventurer, I think you need to speed up. This abominable crocodile dragon is gnawing at my body. Flesh and blood will allow it to recover quickly, and I will be even weaker. How long do I have? 10 minutes. With my current damage output, can I kill it within the specified time? There's hope." Mora did not give an accurate answer. In the past, there had been 30 minutes, so there was naturally a 100% chance of killing the other party. However, there were only 10 minutes left now, so the situation naturally turned for the worse. Hearing this, Lorne became much more nervous. Now, it was up to luck. The damage output of pets was related to critical hits. If they could deal multiple critical hits, the damage output would naturally increase greatly. However, if he was unlucky and did not deal any critical hits, the situation would be dangerous. -5,915. -5,949. -21,900, critical. -28,000, critical. -6,833. Aisha's dagger stabbed crazily at the boss. Since she did not need to dodge the enemy's attacks, her damage output was also at the limit. Almost every second, she could make at least 2 attacks. Her 2 basic attacks could deal more than 10,000 damage. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. 50 seconds. 100 seconds. As time passed, Aisha had already dealt damage to the boss for nearly 2 minutes. The total damage exceeded 1,000,000, but she still did not kill the dying beast. This gave Lorne a new perspective on the monsters of this world. The dragons and other bosses that he had encountered previously were only limited by the system. If there was really a dragon or dragon soul in its peak state, one breath would probably be enough to reduce a weak human summoner like him to ashes. By the way, this guy's health shouldn't exceed 100 million, right? Lorne made a bold guess. Although 100 million was a very huge unit, according to the current situation, it seemed that it was not impossible to exceed 100 million. After all, he had already dealt more than 1,000,000 damage and had not dealt a fatal blow to the other party. Mora encouraged excitedly, "Adventurer, do your best. Your attacks are very effective." These words indeed made Lorne more motivated. He led his pets to continue attacking the two-headed crocodile dragon. 3 minutes. 4 minutes. 5 minutes. 6 minutes. By the 7th minute after the battle, Aisha had dealt nearly 6 million damage, and the life of the immobile two-headed crocodile had finally come to an end. "Damn you, Mora! How dare you ally with humans to kill a member of the Lake of Death? Aren't you afraid of Lord Dragon Turtle's punishment?" The two-headed crocodile dragon roared and attempted to threaten the other party with the rules of the Lake of Death. However, before it could finish, the one-eyed giant snake crushed half of its head and swallowed it. "We're already in a life-and-death battle, who cares about that?" Mora could not be bothered to say anything else. It opened its bloody mouth and began to devour the other party's body. When it completely tore off the 2 heads of the two-headed crocodile dragon, this terrifying giant sea beast was finally dead. Chapter 155, Level 100 First Kill Achievement. The server has finally been opened. Brothers, let's go. Today's target is 50 high-level monsters per person. After holding back for an entire day, I can finally fight. I want to kill 100. I want to fight for 24 hours. No one can stop me. The players of the Expeditionary Army camp went crazy. Because the game had stopped for an entire day, the players who had been online for a long time also rested for the entire day. This day, they had accumulated restlessness. The moment the game began, they immediately rushed into the Divine Realm and began to crazily sweep the map. But as they reached their destination, suddenly, the scene froze. Then, in the center of their screen, a huge golden banner appeared. Ding! Global announcement: congratulations to player Tyrant for successfully killing the monster two-headed crocodile dragon and for achieving the first kill of a level 100 boss. You have done a great deed and are now in the annals of history. Congratulations player Tyrant, you have received the first kill achievement reward, plus 1 million experience points, plus 100,000 reputation points, plus 1,000 gold coins, plus 200 attribute points, plus 10 luck. Ding! Ding! The grand announcement sounded 3 times. All the players in the world were stunned. They thought that there was something wrong with their ears. At this moment, everyone was not even level 30, but they actually heard that someone had killed a level 100 boss. It was simply crazy. The players questioned, but when they opened the system interface, their eyes widened. Damn! It's true. How is this possible? I don't believe it. It must be a new bug after the update. How can someone kill a level 100 boss? Has the game gone that crazy just after reopening? Can someone tell me how this tyrant killed a level 100 boss? That's impossible. The Divine Realm has a level suppression mechanism. There's no damage dealt beyond 20 levels of difference. It must be a bug. Oh my god! The players around the world went crazy. Although they saw the relevant information with their eyes and ears, they still could not believe that it was real. After all, that was a level 100 boss. A level 30 player could not defeat it no matter what. Unless it's this tyrant again. What is this person's true identity? Allocate more resources, we must find him at all costs. Send out a recruitment notice to the world now. As long as Tyrant can join our organization, we can give him an annual salary of 1 billion. Because the gold coins in Divine Realm were directly linked to real money, everything that happened in it would attract the attention of the world. Especially the financial groups, they almost treated Divine Realm as the second world. There was endless wealth waiting for them to harvest there. Therefore, the moment they saw this global announcement, they immediately saw an incredible business opportunity. No matter what the cost, they had to find Tyrant and recruit him. In addition, the military in various areas of the World Alliance also reacted. Especially the top research institutes, in a rare occasion, they sent requests to the leaders of the country. They only had one request. That was, they had to find that player in reality at all costs and invite him to join the research institute. To them, and even to this world, that player was likely the first to trigger virtual reality materialization. Therefore, they had to find him and try to find a breakthrough in technology from him. Ding! Congratulations on assisting One-Eyed Giant Snake, Mora, in successfully killing the level 100 boss two-headed crocodile dragon. Reward: EXP plus 500,000, plus 1.25 million, plus 1.75 million. When the two-headed crocodile died, Lorne received the notification and reward for killing it. Because he was a summoner with 6 pets, he had an additional 250% experience bonus. Then, he triggered the effect of Master of Experience, and the total experience doubled again. It was also because of this that Lorne's final experience gain reached 3.5 million points. But that was not the greatest gain. The greater gain was that he had completed the first clear of a level 100 boss. After completing this achievement, Lorne received 1 million experience points as a reward. When this experience was affected by the experience amplification effect on him, the final experience reward reached 7 million points. 10 million experience points. Lorne looked at his experience bank and immediately saw an 8-digit figure. He was immediately pleased. In addition, he obtained 100,000 reputation points and 1,000 gold coins. Everyone knew about these two rewards. Next were the 200 free attribute points. This should be the most practical reward. Lorne also urgently needed to raise his attribute points, because Aisha's strength was tied to his attributes. Only by possessing high attributes could Aisha have greater combat strength. With that in mind, Lorne did not hesitate and added points as planned. 120 intelligence and 80 agility. In this case, Lorne's magic attack increased by 480 points. As for Aisha, because of Lorne's increase, she directly gained 1920 attack points. Now, Aisha's attack power had already exceeded 8,000 plus. If she used the Phantom Backstab skill, she would be able to deal the maximum damage of 36,000 points. Her damage output would reach a new height. At this moment, Aisha's strength gradually became more apparent. After Lorne replaced his equipment, her strength would gain another boost. As for the last reward, luck plus 10. It was said that in fights, 70% depended on strength and 30% on luck. This showed how important luck was. Moreover, Lorne needed the critical strike chance now, so this luck had a very good effect on his strength growth. After clearing away all these rewards, Lorne remembered that the boss did not drop any equipment or other loot. This was mainly because he was not the main attacker, so he basically did not have any loot. Fortunately, Monster Merging Simulator obtained a material from the Monster A segment of the tail of the two-headed crocodile dragon. Although it was only a small portion, it was still worth being happy about. After all, this was a level 100 boss. It was definitely a huge blessing to be able to obtain a portion of the tail from it. Furthermore, he had obtained more than 10 million experience points just now. It was definitely a rewarding trip. Chapter 156, Unknown Fragment Stained with Blood. While Lorne was dealing with his reward, the one-eyed snake, Mora, was also eating. The body of the two-headed crocodile dragon was very huge, but it was eaten up in a short period of time. Its corpse was like a tonic. When Mora ate the flesh, it recovered a lot. Finally, a powerful light burst from the single eye on its head, as if declaring to the world that it was the victor of this battle. Human adventurer, thank you for saving me. Without your help, my victory would have been even harder. Mora looked over with its house-sized head. However, at this moment, Lorne wanted to retort. In fact, from the recovery ability of the two just now, he could tell that the two-headed crocodile dragon's recovery speed was much faster than Mora. If the battle continued, it was most likely that the other party would bite it to death. Of course, this was excluding the possibility that Mora had a trump card. According to the price the two of them offered, it was more likely that Mora had a special treasure. After all, it still had a special power regarding light. At the same time, adventurer, although you are only a weak human, the strength you have displayed in this battle is astonishing. I think you have the right to be a friend of the one-eyed giant snake. Mora said sincerely. As soon as it finished speaking, the system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations on helping one-eyed giant snake, Mora, and obtaining its affinity. Affinity plus 50,000. Congratulations on going from neutral to admiration. With a pleasant reminder, Lorne and Mora became close friends. This was a total of 50,000 affinity points. Moreover, Mora was a level 100 high-level boss. If she could be good friends with it, then in the future, if there were any urgent matters, there would be a way to resolve them. For example, if it was asked to clean up the fire elemental giants at the entrance of the cold desolate dragon city, he believed that with its strength, it would definitely be able to easily fulfill this request. Lorne thought to himself happily. At this moment, Mora said again, "Friend, this is the reward I promised you. Although I'm reluctant, since I have a promise, I'll give it to you. I hope you can solve the mystery behind it." With that, a light poured over Lorne. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the gift of the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, Gold Equipment X10. Congratulations on obtaining the gift of the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, Pearl of the Lake X2000. Congratulations on obtaining the gift of the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, Cold Death Jade X50. Congratulations on obtaining the gift of the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, Bloodstained Unknown Fragment. Fragment? When he heard the last notification, Lorne almost thought he was going to get another feather. Unfortunately, it was not Gabriel's feather. It was a fragment stained with black blood. It looked very similar to the feather he had obtained. Moreover, when Lorne received this fragment, he felt that his angel wings had a reaction, as if the two were resonating. Could it be Gabriel's equipment? Lorne felt his throat turn dry. He really had a feeling that even if this was not the main angel equipment, it was definitely related to Gabriel. Otherwise, the angel's wings would not have reacted on its own. With that in mind, he quickly opened the panel of this fragment. The next second, he froze. Bloodstained Unknown Fragment. Quality? Effect? Effect: a bloodstained fragment that seems to contain a very faint power of light. If you hand it over to the Radiant Church, you might receive a reward. It really has something to do with Gabriel. Lorne's eyes widened. Although there was no information on the fragment's interface, the introduction was identical to the one on the feather. If it was the same as the feather, then Lorne could obtain Gabriel's angel equipment from the Dragon of Light. Even if it was not an equipment, it had to be a powerful tool. In any case, he would not lose out. Grateful, Lorne put the fragment away and glanced at the other rewards. There was no need to elaborate on gold equipment. Even if he could not use it, he could still sell it. This was the divine equipment of the current stage in the game. The price was in the range of 10,000. As for the Pearl of the Lake and the Cold Death Jade, the former was a rare ornament that was of good value to the elves and the dragons. The latter was a forging material. In the future, if he wanted to forge high-grade equipment, this material would definitely be excellent. Lorne nodded at them. At this moment, Mora said again, "Friend, these little things are not enough to express my gratitude. How about this? Let me, Mora, raise your pet's aptitude." Increase aptitude? Lorne's eyes lit up. He did not really need to increase the aptitude of his pets as he had the monster merging simulator with him. He could create powerful pets himself. But since the other party had offered to help his pet raise their aptitude, he would not refuse. This was a good thing for him, and it was free. As the injuries in my body have not recovered, I cannot release too much energy, so... Mora's eyes swept over the 6 pets, and she froze. The pets of this human adventurer seemed to have very high aptitude. Even the weakest among them had silver aptitude. The higher the quality, the more energy would be consumed. In Mora's current state, helping a silver monster raise its aptitude was already the limit. Therefore, it chose the long-tongued bat in the end. The eye above Mora's head opened, and a light shone on the long-tongued bat. Ding! Congratulations to your pet, long-tongued bat, for accepting the bloodline blessing of one-eyed giant snake, Mora, and obtaining part of the dragon bloodline. Congratulations to your pet long-tongued bat for successfully evolving into long-tongued bat dragon. In just an instant, the long-tongued bat's body underwent a huge change. Although the original long-tongued bat had a relatively obvious human face, its appearance was still too similar to a bat. But after evolution, it was no longer a bat. It was a bat dragon. This was a subspecies dragon of the 9 dragons bloodline. In Divine Realm, any monster with a dragon in its name was several times stronger than monsters of the same level. Furthermore, the long-tongued bat had the enhancement of the monster merging simulator. To be honest, Lorne looked forward to it. When he opened the pet interface, he was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 157, Evolution, Long-tongued Bat Dragon. Long-tongued Bat Dragon. Grade, Gold. Level, 17, 0/276,000. HP, 15,750. Magic Attack, 1837 to 2100. Defense, 787. Superiority, 95%. Talent, Dragon Bloodline, plus 10% HP, plus 10% MP, plus 5% critical strike chance, 2% chance of immunity to negative effects. Introduction, a greedy long-tongued bat dragon. Don't let it hear your secret, or else you will have to give it enough gold coins to shut it up. It could be seen that when its quality increased greatly, its attributes also increased tremendously. Of course, following that, its EXP needed to level up also increased. Originally, it was level 19, but after evolution, because of the increase in EXP requirement, the original EXP could only allow it to reach level 17. These changes were all very easy to understand and expected. The only thing that surprised him was the effect of the dragon bloodline. The bloodline that Mora had given the long-tongued bat should be very thin, but surprisingly, the amplification effect of this bloodline was so rich. At the same time, it increased HP, MP, 5% critical strike chance, and 2% immunity to negative effects. This was an effect that all pets needed. Especially 5% critical strike chance, it was very important to Aisha and small artillery. Unfortunately, Mora was in a poor state and could not evolve the other pets. Lorne did not force it. He closed the pet interface and looked at Mora. Mora, we should have another agreement, right? Yes, my friend. I promised to help you 3 times. Mora removed a scale from its body and handed it to Lorne. This scale can be used for communication. If you need help, you can pour magic into it. I will immediately sense your location and use the power of the teleportation circle to descend beside you. Of course, that is assuming that this opponent does not put my life in danger. Of course. Lorne put away the scale and said, I have something that I need your help with, but now is not the time. Let's go see the red crystal coffin. All right. Mora looked at her body and said, let's go after I heal my injuries, friend. No problem, but I hope you won't rest for more than 10 hours. There's no need. We can leave in 6 hours. Good. It just so happened that Lorne had something to deal with. After killing the 2-headed crocodile dragon, he had accumulated more than 10 million experience points. Now was the time to raise the pet's levels while Mora was resting. The first to level was naturally the recently created pet, Little Spider. Ding! Congratulations on using 225,000 experience points to raise your pet Little Spider to level 14. Congratulations on using 243,000 experience points to raise your pet Little Spider to level 15. Congratulations on using 261,000 experience points to raise your pet Little Spider to level 16. Congratulations on using 333,000 experience points to raise your pet Little Spider to level 20. Ding! Congratulations to your pet Little Spider for awakening its skill Spider Spear combo. The quality of Little Spider was that of a silver boss, and its experience requirement was 45 times that of Lorne. Therefore, it took a total of 1,953,000 experience points to raise it to level 20. However, Lorne did not stop. He poured the remaining experience points into Little Spider. Another 10 light rays descended. Little Spider reached level 30. Ding! Congratulations on spending 550,000 experience points to raise your pet Little Spider to level 30. Congratulations to your pet Little Spider for awakening its skill Spider Silk Storm. Bone Spider King, Little Spider. Grade, Silver Boss. Level, 30, 0/1,872,000. Health, 425,000. Magic Attack, 5950 to 7225. Defense, 2550. Superiority, 89%. Skills, Poisonous Spider Web, Spur of the Spider Spear, Embryo, Explosion. Skill, Spider Spear Combo, use its long limbs to launch a rapid attack. Deals 3 to 6 continuous attacks on the target in a fan-shaped direction, 45 degrees/2 yards, ahead. Each attack will deal 100% physical damage and add a poison effect. Skill, Spider Silk Storm, spits a large amount of spider silk towards the sky. Deals 80% magic damage and poison to all targets within a range of 15 × 15 yards. Introduction, a spider mother that grew up in an undead environment. Due to a special mutation, it underwent a strange evolution. This was the level 30 little spider. Its attributes were terrifyingly high. Especially its health, it had reached 425,000. With this health, even if it stood there and let the other players attack, they would have to fight until the next day. After all, it still had 2,550 defense points. As for little spider's damage output, this worry was completely unnecessary. The upper limit of the spider's magic attack had reached an astonishing 7,225 points. Even if the small spiders it summoned only had a quarter of its attributes, it was still 1,800 points. If these small spiders self-destruct, they would deal 100% true damage to targets within a 2 yards range. That was 1,800 points of damage. Who could withstand such an attack? Not only that, but the level 30 little spider had also awakened 2 new skills. Spider Spear Combo dealt damage in close combat, while Spider Silk Storm dealt long-range damage. These 2 skills made little spider's combat strength increase rapidly, directly occupying the position of secondary DPS in the team. Damn, I've used up all my experience points. Lorne glanced at the EXP bar and found that his EXP bank was depleted. His experience of more than 10 million had been depleted. It was too costly to level up to 30. Just Little Spider alone used 7,875,000 experience points. Coupled with the previous consumption, it was a total of 9,810,000 experience points. The remaining experience points on Lorne were only enough to allow the long-tongued bat dragon to return to level 20. None of this mattered. After all, it was not the main attacker. Just like that, the break time quickly passed. The calm lake of death raised another huge wave. It was the one-eyed giant snake, Mora. Chapter 158, The Blood Crystal Coffin at the bottom of the lake. At this moment, Mora had completely recovered, and there was some thick armor on its body. It seemed to have absorbed the defense advantage of the 2-headed crocodile dragon, preserving the power in its flesh. Friend, let's go. The one-eyed snake twisted its body that was more than 100 meters long and coiled its tail on the ground. The crystal coffin is in a cave at the bottom of the lake. I'll bring you there, but the bottom of the lake of death is very dangerous. You must not use the power of light, or else you will be attacked by countless monsters. Okay. Lorne put all his pets into the pet space and walked from the tail to the top of its head. It just so happened that the giant snake had some horns on its head that could stabilize his body. Lorne stood up. The next moment, Mora shot into the sky. Its huge body, more than 100 meters tall, shot into the sky and plunged into the lake of death. It was so fast that Lorne feared he would be thrown off. Fortunately, Mora released a stream of energy that formed a barrier around Lorne to protect him. As for the scene under the lake of death, there was only one way to describe it: dark. There was extreme darkness. As Mora went deeper, Lorne could no longer see any light. This place was like the deep sea 10,000 meters below. There was no light or sound. There was only endless silence. Fortunately, this experience was not long. Mora dived very quickly. In about 10 minutes, the two reached their destination. Lorne finally saw the light. In front of him was a huge mountain at the bottom of the lake. In the middle, there was a huge cave. Like the dragon's nest, the walls of the cave were inlaid with some glowing gems, showing the cave to Lorne. Mora led him inside. This cave was very large. Even if Mora's head was like a small house, it could walk inside without obstruction. However, the cave at the bottom of the lake was very deep, like an endless maze. Mora kept traveling at a very fast speed, but it still took more than 10 minutes to reach the final destination. "Friend, we're here." Mora's huge head popped out of the water as it said, "This limestone cave is in the center of the mountain. The space is very large, but the way in is too difficult to find. If not for the mark the first left, it would have taken several hours to find this place. I didn't expect the bottom of the lake to be so different." Lorne continued to stand above Mora, his eyes studying his surroundings. Who would have thought that there was such a magical scene in the depths of the dark lake of death? This cave was even larger than the cave of Walter, and it was also surrounded by gems. There are countless such scenes in the lake of death. There are still people from your human empire who are coveting our territory. If not for Lord Dragon Turtle staying here, the lake of death might have been drained dry by you humans. Mora had a poor impression of humans. If Lorne had not saved its life, it would not have come so close to the human and let him stand on its head. Hearing this, Lorne digested the information he had. The important figure called Dragon Turtle should be the long-living terrifying existence that Walter had mentioned. In addition, there were many places in the Lake of Death that hid treasures, but the relationship with the human empire was very poor. From the looks of it, the Lake of Death should be a special force. Although it was in the territory of Iron Skull City, it was not under their jurisdiction. That's the treasure we're fighting for. As he pondered, Mora led him to the core of the cave. Lorne looked up and was shocked. In the center of the huge cave ahead, there was an incomparably scarlet-red crystal coffin. It floated in the center of the cave, and there were 8 totem stone pillars at the edge. 8 black iron chains were borne on them, pulling the red crystal coffin forward. Although Lorne did not know what was inside the crystal coffin, as long as he saw the scene before him, he would know that he had encountered something incredible. "Mora, are you sure this is a treasure?" Lorne felt the surrounding atmosphere was strange. The thing in the crystal coffin was probably not good. "Don't worry, my friend. This crystal coffin looks terrifying, but it's nothing dangerous. Even if I attack it, it will not react." From this, it could be seen that this guy had long discovered this place and had tried many methods to open the crystal coffin. But from the looks of it, it should have failed. What should we do now? Lorne could not tell what was happening. Other than feeling strange, he did not obtain any clues. If you cultivate here and absorb the red energy emitted by the crystal coffin, it can speed up your cultivation. For this, you fought the 2-headed crocodile dragon to the death. Lorne looked at it, speechless. "Yes, because the space here is limited, we can't cultivate together. Moreover, the energy released from the crystal coffin is limited, so we can't both absorb it at the same time." No wonder this guy agreed so readily. Lorne was speechless. He regretted it now. If he had known this would happen, he would have killed this guy as well. That way, he could have gained a few million experience points. "Friend, I'm going to cultivate. If you don't want to stay, I can send you out." Mora smiled. "Have you really used any methods against that crystal coffin?" Lorne looked up at the crystal coffin floating in the air. He did not believe this treacherous snake. "Of course, if you don't believe me, you can go ahead and test it. No matter what you do, I won't object." Mora coiled up its 100-meter-long body, then lay its head on its body and faced the crystal coffin, closing its huge vertical eyes. "Go ahead and test it." That was what Lorne was thinking. In any case, the path of cultivation was useless to him as a player. In that case, he could only hope to open the crystal coffin and obtain the treasures hidden inside. However, it would probably take some effort to do this. After all, that guy, Mora, had studied it for so long. Even it could not even move this crystal coffin, so it was impossible for him to open it with brute force. Chapter 159, Destroying the Totem Stone Pillar. It should be related to these totems, right? Lorne arrived near the nearby totem poles. There was a chain tied to the top of this huge stone pillar that was several meters thick. However, the chain was not strong, which meant that the totem poles had other uses. Perhaps as long as he understood the meaning of the totem, he would know everything about this magic circle. However, this touched upon the blind spot of Lorne's knowledge. As an ordinary player, he had no way of knowing what the totem on it meant. Even if an NPC from Iron Skull City saw these things, it would be difficult to recognize them. After all, the things here had existed for a long time. Lorne could even think that they had been left behind hundreds or even thousands of years ago. Helpless, Lorne could only check the totems on the 8 stone pillars to find any relevant patterns. But the result was not ideal. He did not find any useful information from it. At the last moment when Lorne was about to give up, he casually used the player's unique identification skill on the totem stone pillar. The next moment, he was stunned. Durability. Lorne's eyes widened. He carefully checked the panel in front of him and finally confirmed that the stone pillar was really tough. In the game, if items had durability, it meant that they could be destroyed. With that in mind, Lorne summoned Little Spider and let it use a long-range skill. A ball of dark green poison sprayed towards the totem stone pillar. When it touched, the ball of poison dissipated, turning into a spider web that stuck to the stone pillar. Poisonous spider web was a long-range control skill of Little Spider. When the poison net hit the stone pillar, a damage number immediately appeared. -7,105. There's hope. Lorne was pleasantly surprised to see the damage. From the combat panel, it could be seen that this stone pillar did not have any defense attributes. It only had a special effect of being immune to 50% damage. If that was all, it would be much simpler. Now, the damage of Aisha and Little Spider was very terrifying. Even if they reduced the damage by half, they could still deal extremely terrifying damage. As for why the one-eyed giant snake, Mora, could not harm it, this should be related to the player's identity. After all, Divine Realm was a game. The player's priority was higher than the monsters in the game. Moreover, many special scenes could only be entered by players. Although Mora was powerful, in the face of the game system, it was only a ball of data. It was impossible for it to do anything beyond its authority. Therefore, it was Lorne's chance. Mora, how long do you usually cultivate here? Lorne turned to look at the one-eyed giant snake. It did not open its eyes when answering. Sometimes a few months, sometimes a few hours. Can I ask you to leave for the time being? Leave? Are you leaving, my friend? No, I just want to activate the secret tool that the Dragon of Light gave me. This mysterious tool cannot be seen by anyone outside the Church of Light. Lorne had a way to shatter the stone pillar, but he did not want to share it with Mora. After all, it was a treasure prepared for the players. Ha ha ha. Mora laughed. It lowered its head and looked at Lorne with its huge golden vertical eye. My friend, there's no need to try. With your strength, even if you have a divine artifact on you, it's impossible for you to open this crystal coffin. That's none of your concern. The corners of Lorne's mouth curled up confidently. Whether it succeeds or not, I'll only try once. If I can't open the crystal coffin today, then this place will belong to you in the future. I won't come to this meaningless cave again. Really? Of course. Lorne said, I'm not in the mood to stay in this kind of useless place. All right, it's settled then. I'll wait for you outside. If you encounter danger, use the scale I gave you. I'll rush over as soon as possible. With that, Mora twisted its huge body and walked out of the cave. Lorne had the long-tongued bat dragon use sound waves to probe the surroundings. After confirming that the other party was not spying, he summoned his other pets. Little fellows, attack with all your might. Lorne let his pets deal damage. Aisha and Little Spider were the damage dealers in the team. The two of them attacked at the same time, dealing nearly 20,000 damage per second. Moreover, the stone pillar would not move or counterattack, so the two pets could confidently attack with all their might. Just like that, after about a minute, the huge stone pillar's durability decreased by half and began to crack. In another minute, the durability of the stone pillar was completely emptied. Crack! The cracks spread like a spider web until they covered the entire stone pillar. Finally, with a bang, it collapsed. With a clang, the black iron chain fell to the ground and quickly disintegrated, finally turning into light that vanished completely. An iron chain formed from magic energy. Lorne glanced at the other totems. From the looks of it, these totems should be an important part of the magic circle. Who knew what the consequences would be if all of them were destroyed? However, he could not care about it. Since he was already here, he had to give it a try. What if there was hope? Ding! Your pet Aisha has successfully shattered a totem stone pillar. Your pet Little Spider has successfully shattered a totem stone pillar. In just 2 minutes, the two pets could destroy a totem stone pillar. It was too simple. Moreover, under Lorne's search, he obtained a red gem and a fragment engraved with totems. Energy Crystal. Grade, Legendary. Effect, use the energy crystal to set up a magic circle. You can obtain a better effect. This was an energy crystal that was responsible for providing energy to the magic circle on the stone pillars. Although it was temporarily useless, as a legendary material, it would definitely be very useful in the future. As for the other loot, Stone Giant's Body Fragment. Grade, Legendary. Effect, special runes appear naturally on the stone giant's body. If these runes are used to set up a magic circle, the effect of the magic circle will be amplified. This was also a special material related to magic circles, and the way it was produced was very interesting. It was actually a natural rune born from the stone giant. He did not know what kind of person would use such a precious material to set up a magic circle in this place. Chapter 160, Naga Queen. Ding! Your pet Little Spider has successfully shattered a totem stone pillar. Your pet Aisha has successfully shattered a totem stone pillar. Your pet Aisha has successfully shattered a totem stone pillar. As time passed, the 8 surrounding totem stone pillars were destroyed by Lorne. Every totem stone pillar produced an energy crystal and a stone giant's body fragment. These were all legendary materials and were extraordinary in value. At this moment, a grand system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations on destroying the incubation magic circle. Obtained, EXP plus 20,000. Incubation magic circle. Looking at the information on the interface, Lorne could not help but frown. The name of this magic circle was very interesting. If he understood it literally, didn't it mean that there was a fetus inside? This place had existed for a long time. If there was really a fetus, it would probably have grown up by now, right? Things were getting troublesome. Lorne looked at the crystal coffin floating in front of him and took a deep breath. Things had already progressed to this point. If he gave up, he would definitely regret it. Moreover, as a player, if he was afraid of such things, he would not be a qualified adventurer. Human or ghost, let me see your true appearance. Lorne decided to investigate, but before he made a move, he had to change the ghost shadow necklace to a death substitution necklace. In the event of danger, the death substitution necklace could give him another way out. Then he stepped forward. When he was close enough, he could clearly see the special patterns on the crystal coffin. Moreover, the color on it was like blood, and it looked very strange. Unfortunately, this crystal coffin was not transparent. It was impossible to see what was happening inside from the outside. There was nothing else around. In other words, if Lorne wanted to know what was happening inside, he had to open the crystal coffin completely. Little spider, push open the crystal coffin. Lorne did not hesitate. He had already made up his mind. He would accept whatever came next. The small spider moved its 8 long legs forward. After approaching the crystal coffin, its long legs began to push the lid. Gulp. Driven by immense force, the coffin lid moved, and there was a heavy grinding sound. Soon, a corner of the blood-colored crystal coffin was lifted. At this moment, a bloody aura spread over, and scarlet energy spewed out. Everything looked so strange. Fortunately, nothing strange rushed out. Lorne swallowed, then held his chest and moved to the side of the crystal coffin. When he checked the corner of the gap, his pupils dilated several times as he looked extremely shocked. Heavens! Lorne froze on the spot. Inside the crystal coffin, there was really a body. Moreover, this body was floating in midair and had not touched the crystal coffin. What was even more astonishing was the liveliness of her body. It was as if she had fallen asleep. If not for the fact that she was lying in the crystal coffin, one would definitely think that she had only fallen asleep. Lorne made the spider increase its strength again, pushing the lid further away. This time, he saw the other party's appearance. This was an extremely imposing woman. She had fiery red hair, an exquisite appearance, and an extremely perfect body. There was no clothing on her body, only wisps of energy providing some cover. Lorne's mouth went dry. However, when he saw the lower half of the other party, his eyes widened. Mermaid! Lorne gasped. He did not expect that there was a mermaid lying in the crystal coffin. It was obvious after seeing her crystal-scaled tail. There's a mermaid buried in the crystal coffin at the bottom of the lake. That sounds right. Lorne could understand this, but the only thing that confused him was the magic circle called incubation. Was this mermaid beauty born in this crystal coffin? This seemed to be the only way to explain everything. Lorne did not dwell on this issue. He directly used the player's identification skill on the mermaid. Naga Queen Domina. Quality. Status. Level. HP. Physical attack. Physical defense. Magic defense. Skill. Introduction. Domina is the ancient Naga queen and an abyss ruler of the Dark Abyss. However, due to the war in the ancient era, Domina's body was shattered. However, as the blessed child of the world, her heart was preserved and recovered in the incubation magic circle. After thousands of years of recovery, she finally regained her life and strength. Pfft! When he saw who it was, Lorne almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This mermaid was the ancient Naga queen, and one of the rulers of the Dark Abyss. As long as players knew the history of Divine Realm, they knew that the Abyss ruler was the ruler of the Dark Abyss, and the Dragon of Darkness, Doris, was also one of the Abyss rulers. In other words, this mermaid was as dangerous as the Dragon of Darkness. Damn, this is too tense. Lorne was stunned. This time, not only did he not obtain a reward, but he also released a monster that could destroy the world. This was because the information on the other party clearly stated that she had regained her life and strength. In other words, the Naga Queen should be alive now. With that in mind, Lorne came to a realization. When he looked at it, he immediately realized that it had opened its scarlet eyes and was staring at him. Oh no, the great demon was awake. Lorne looked helpless. It seemed that he really had to give it his all this time. Unless the Dragon of Light descended personally, no one could save him from the Naga Queen. At the same time, in the north of Iron Skull City, a ball of black fire flew over the border and headed for the Lake of Death.